Hey there, ho there, this is Nuts and Bolts, where we take a look behind the scenes of some of your favorite episodes of Anime Bandits Past. Today we're looking at Speed Racer with none other than the man himself, nostalgia critic Doug Walker.
Hi, Billy Ho!
Oh, and Mark the Engineer is here too.
Yeah, just hype that up.
Respectfully silent.
This entire sequence shooting in my apartment was kind of a hassle because I have a very, very tiny apartment, and trying to find interesting angles to shoot somebody walking through what is, basically a shoebox is always challenging. That, and I was making myself laugh through all this montage of me just abusing my friend Gabe here. He is such a champ through a lot of these shots I ask him to do. The beginning here was
with an eye patch on too, so you gotta give him credit for that. We only have one eye. You can still emote through it.
Yeah, this whole extended Home Alone bit was supposed to be even more involved than what we wound up being, but that's for a story for later in the commentary. Right now, I just want to just talk a little bit about how this crossover came to being. Basically, I came to you, Doug, a while back before we shot this, saying, yeah, I got a break coming up in March, and I was hoping to shoot something with you during that time. And I believe that was the same weekend Batman vs. Superman came out. So you were also in the middle of watching the movie, taking notes, and also shooting this review, as well as reshooting the review, as it were.
Yeah, go way of putting it. Yeah, but I mean, honestly, it's Speed Racer, so it's like you gotta make room for Speed Racer.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised that you hadn't covered it even under the rebranded Nostalgia Critic, where you did newer movies, because I knew of your hatred of it. So
yeah, it was one of those where it's like I had it written down, like do it someday, but there was always something in the back of my head where I'm like, but I'd have to watch it again, and I just have this thought in my head because I already saw it once. I did it for a bum review, and I had a horrible headache when I went to see it, and that's just not the movie you want to see when you have a headache. So I just always associate it with that. Just Speed Racer equals headache, and just where some movies are so bad they're fun, this one was just unpleasant because I had a headache. I don't even know if it's like necessarily the movie was so awful it like left that impact. It just I always associate it with headache.
Well, No. I'll be the adjudicator on that one. It can be headache inducing.
Yeah, but it's pretty tough to get through.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I think it's fine.
If there's one thing I would change somehow over the course of this review, it's that maybe my hands weren't tied behind my back throughout the entirety of the review, so that way I wasn't basically presenting my luscious man cans for the camera for the entirety of the review.
Oh, so many comments.
I think your man cans are amazing. Thank you.
I'm
just getting closer and closer to them every shot in the review. I mean, you can tell.
When the footage came back, it was like, look at all the footage that I came back with, and I'm just like, oh my god, I wish I was there. I would have been the person to crack the first joke so that we could have reshot that. Just put his arms in front of him or something. But then that would have been cleavage.
I'll have you all know that I'm making a purposeful effort to lose weight. So, these man cans are going to go bye-bye, or at the very least, they're going to be firmed up.
But
that'd be peckalicious.
There was a plan. There was a whole plan surrounding this. We were going to do a whole month's worth of live action because we hadn't done any in a while. So we were going to do Speed Racer and finally Fist of the North Star. What was the third one?
Kite.
Because Kite had just come out. And unfortunately, scheduling did not allow for the other two reviews to happen. And sometimes that's just the way that it goes when you're trying to get so many people together in the span of a week. So what happened was that Doug became the MV motherfucking P. It was like, Doug, we really need you to bail us out with a new ending. Okay.
Trust me, I've been in situations like that before, and it's like, yeah, no, I know when it's like, dude, problem, I need you like 2 days ago. Can you do this? Just like, yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah, and that's why when people ask me like who is probably the nicest guy you've ever worked with, I would say, oh, Doug Walker. He's the only guy who I've ever worked with who went above and beyond the call of duty to make things happen, as it were.
Well, that's also because the nicest guy, it's like, yes, and whose dick felt the best when you had to suck it to say that line? And you're like, oh, yeah, Doug Walker, yes. I have a whole background I just gave away, so...
Writing the review itself, though, was sort of a juggling effort on my part because I had my thoughts about Speed Racer. I didn't like the movie. I didn't hate it as much as you did, Doug. And Mark, who basically helps me write the script, liked the movie. So it became, all right, so how do we present the movie as fairly as possible while still maintaining true to both our viewpoints? And it basically became me trying to lightly defend the movie from your viewpoint. And I think I think it made for an interesting dynamic for the both of us, but I also feel like maybe it could be misconstrued as you being just unfairly tough on the movie. So I think right now is a very good chance for you to just have your honest to God thoughts on the movie just right here right now.
Oh sure. It fucking sucks. And even people that are Speed Racer fans, I'm like, what? It's in the future now, and there's
you're about to walk on a landmine, Walker.
I will say this: there are some people I know that I very highly respect that do like it. Not just Mark, but also Ego Raptor very much enjoys the movie. That's about it. I've met nobody else, but still, those are people I very highly respect.
All right, here's my point. There is no actual story to Speed Racer. It is extremely basic. You can skin it in anything, from the original Speed Racer to Speed Racer X to Speed Racer The Next Generation to that crappy American Speed Racer cartoon. It all skins the exact same way, which is that here's a kid that drives really well. His idiot brother wrecked a car, so his dad's overprotective, and we can just skin that any way we want, where it's always just like Speed versus this team, Speed versus the monster car, Speed versus the shooting star every once in a while, and, Speed versus the GRX, an engine that mysteriously drives drivers insane. I watched this movie and just went, yeah, this is about as dumb as any episode of Speed Racer, and that's fine.
How are your eyes not bleeding looking at this, though? Look at that!
Yeah, it's super, all right, yeah, okay. It's super bright, but think about, just to take a left turn, think about how bleak gaming has been. Think about how bleak comic book movies were already getting at that point, when it's just like tarmac gray and shit brown. And then you've just got this movie that's on the very opposite end of the spectrum, where it's like, hey, why don't we represent, the ridiculous, Technicolor rainbow of the swinging 60s, and, just make everything just like super bright and make it pop, and, forgetting the lens flares. It was a nice, it was a nice opposite end direction to throw it in, because they could have made it like super hardcore and gritty, and Speed Racer lost both his parents in a terrible accident that wasn't an accident at all because the Racing Association hated Pop's Racer. But they didn't. They just stuck with this is Speed Racer. It's really dumb. It's about the Racer family. They do races.
I feel like there is a way you can do something that's bright and colorful and nice looking, and not, like I said, not retina killing necessarily. Like there with the Cowboy Bebop, that's kind of a nice mix of color and stuff. And Akira, that's kind of like, in that poster, it's a kind of mix of color. And then when you go to the movie, it's just like, oh, it's like a punch in the face of color. Where it's that, I think of really good color, I think of something, like the Lego movie or something, where it's like, or even Dick Tracy that had a lot of shadows as well, where it's like they do pop, but it's not assaulting you necessarily.
Well, also it was kind of a light versus dark thing, especially in Dick Tracy, because I haven't seen the HD transfer of Dick Tracy, but I'm sure that it wouldn't have the same problems where it's like everything is bright, everything is colorful, because Tracy was always against these kind of wet noir backgrounds. So, I guess you're right.
And also, this was pioneering technology at the time. Seeing this happen and with all this kinetic movement was, a kind of a bold direction for the Wachowskis. And not to say that it was a noble experiment, but it was bold all the same. And whether or not it worked is up to you, is basically up to your threshold of watching bright colors whiz about you as fast as possible.
Threshold is a very good word to choose.
It's bold, but not noble. I like that.
And don't get me wrong, I definitely have an appreciation for films that can be relentless and challenge your threshold. You know, I like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which does exactly that. And anyone that says they can't stand that movie, it's an ugly, hideous movie, I get it. And I'm like, yes. And I think something both this film and that film have in common is that they are intentionally doing that. This is trying to very much throw as much on you as possible and make it kind of an endurance. And like you said, I think it does probably just sort of vary on what you can take and how much you want to accept of it as, you know, being, you know, intentionally good or intentionally bad and so on and so forth.
I wouldn't say like it was supposed to be intentionally bad, but everything about this movie,
well, I mean, as the corniness, like, okay, like none of that's supposed to look realistic. Like that's intentionally fake, phony, bad, and stuff. But it's stylized. It's supposed to look that way. That's kind of what I mean.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I would say that this is probably the most bold anime adaptation, Hollywood adaptation that we've had ever. Just in terms of like what had to go behind it, how much work. And just seeing how like some actors, especially like John Goodman and Susan Sarandon, tried their earnest damnedest to make heads and tails of what is ostensibly a very, very corny, very, very schmaltzy script. And I heard like after we released this, speaking of Chim Chim, I heard after this we released this review about the horror stories revolving around the mistreatment of the chimpanzee on set, and I couldn't. Yeah, like I couldn't confirm or deny like what they accused of what happened on set, but then I remember like, well, whenever you do have a chimp or a primate on set, it's very much like, okay, he's a prop, you know, like this is a live animal. He does not want to be here. He would rather be in his home, but we need him on the movie, so please just bear him little mind. Which probably goes to explain why like everyone in the movie just doesn't question his existence. Because if they did, that means more interaction with the chimp, and that means more possible mishaps. Because chimps are really, really strong, and you do not want one of them grabbing onto one of your lapels and throttling you within an inch of your life.
Or doing what he's doing right there immediately.
Plus, you have that long history of chimps in children's film, which, as you'll notice, has significantly dropped off in the last like 10 or 15 years. So it's like, oh, so that's where they went.
In a bit of serendipity, I made that reference to Going Bananas without having planned on Brad having later reviewed Going Bananas. So it was within like 2 weeks of this review going up. That was the second time other reviewers that I've worked with have had the same idea as I had while writing. I think back in December, I had the idea when I reviewed the end of Evangelion to have a moment of crisis. Little did I know that 2 other reviewers who had worked on the site had the exact same idea. And we all released those episodes within a month of each other, all in December.
I think it's very thankful that, I mean, at least from what I see, there's not too much of people saying, this person did it first, this person had this idea first, or at the same time, because it actually does happen a lot more than you would realize. And I think it sort of happens in a way where, you know, it's like, okay, this person clearly didn't rip off this person or didn't steal this joke or anything like that. But it is really interesting. I mean, not just people on the site, like me and Oz trailers have had like the same jokes sometimes and stuff like that. It's one of those things where we kind of get like-minded people doing a similar shtick. Yeah, how often they can kind of repeat and at almost the exact same time.
Yeah, didn't it just happen to you recently with Lindsay and the Disney Villains video?
On the exact same day. I mean, like, we didn't talk about what we were going to do or anything. It was our Disney villains not as evil as they used to be, or they started losing their edge. And it literally came out the exact same day. So that's definitely something that happens with reviewer. Usually not that close. That was very impressively close.
I guess it was bound to happen on a long enough timeline. We have been doing this for nearly 10 years.
Yeah, well, and it does happen. And like I said, I mean, for the most part, when I look in the comments, I don't see that much, you know, blank did it, except for someone that's like, hey, I just want to get someone's goat, but actual legitimate, like, no, this person stole a joke and should be ashamed of themselves. Instead of it's like, no, that usually doesn't happen.
I loved editing that side pan of you. It was just so much fun.
It's opposed to when someone's like, give the finger. I'm like, oh, when you say give, it's like, it's already up. Like, before you even give the finger. No, I've done so many times, I know how it's going to be asked. I know just the millisecond. Yeah, finger up.
Oh, yeah. It was also interesting to shoot on a technical side because this review because this was the first time I was using my new DSLR camera to shoot anything. So I had a chance to not only use the camera but also take advantage of its many interchangeable lenses. So I got a firsthand experience with working with different lenses and working with different depths of field. It was very exciting for me to see what I could do with this new equipment that I had.
It looks nice. Particularly the focus in many of the scenes, I think, looks really nice.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you're a one-man band, you have to rely on autofocus a lot of the time. And if you have a shallow depth of field, that means the camera's constantly trying to find the point of focus. It's good, but it's not human smart. So it will try to focus on something that doesn't exist. It'll try. That's why sometimes you can see in the frame, especially in wide shots, that the camera, it looks like the frame is focusing or like zooming in slightly in and out. And unfortunately, you would, or rather fortunately, if you have a lot of light, you could just increase the f-stop so that way there's a more wider range of focus. Then that should, and that'll solve the problem. But at that time, I was just like, oh yeah, f-stop 1.8, of course that'll work. It's a wide angle. You're supposed to use a short wide stop. Short stop. Anyway, but oh god, Roger Allam. Roger Allam was sort of my saving grace in this movie because that was the legit good. If there was one legit good point of this movie that didn't betray like its cheesy atmosphere that the movie was going for, it's Roger Allam. He was so much fun, and he was such a joy to watch and just see how he reveled in being a sumptuous evil villain.
Yeah, I was trying to think if there was any like performance or any particular person. I'm like, yeah, no, that didn't fit, or that person's not trying, or that person doesn't give a shit. And I was kind of like, not really. The closest I could think is maybe Christina Ricci, because half her performances are just kind of like that, where she looks like she doesn't give a shit, but she can also be super, super talented. I know sometimes that can just be the style that a director wants and stuff, but for the most part, it seems like they're all giving exactly what's asked for. I mean, nobody's like slumming it as far as I can tell.
Yeah, like as I stated in the review, or made you state in the review, America's creepy cousin, Christina Ricci. But yeah, like seeing Allam, and I was seeing Allam work the set as he does like right here, or just have this sort of almost Alan Rickman like delivery where pretty much every word coming out of his mouth is acid tipped and just oozing with that sort of malevolent charisma that he's capable of delivering, was so much fun to watch. So certainly way more fun than watching this bullshit.
You know what's fun too, because again, watching this movie kind of years later, it's like you kind of look at the green screen technology and you kind of go, well, it looks a little fake, but then you're also thinking they had to throw like pretty much like 90% of this was green screened or on a very strange set, and you do kind of think, yeah, they just had to throw so much so fast because it was trying to be almost too innovative, where they sort of couldn't go back and fix some of these other problems. And usually it's looking very Spy Kids 3D to me. And if it's in a film where it's just so where it's so entertaining, you kind of give it a pass and go, well, okay, because it rewarded me in so many other ways. But with this, it's just you notice it even more. I think that's always what's interesting about kind of films like that. Like when you don't like something, you'll notice problems much more than if you do, you'll let so many others slide through.
Trying to work within even though that's supposed to be a wide frame, it was actually not a lot of room for us to move around, and asking you to kind of do a little dance is it was how do I put this delicately? It was sort of like a finesse act. It's like just kind of like I believe my direction was like, I do a little dance.
Well, remember the days when we had to work in a perfect square? We didn't even have widescreen. I mean,
oh god, I don't know how like when did you do that review with Brad? Did you do that review with Brad when we were on standard definition, or did you have 16:9 by then?
Which one?
I believe it was the first one you did. I believe it was a Leprechaun.
I think we were yeah, no, because first widescreen I did. I think what's a crossover. I want to say it was the Ferngully crossover. I think it's the first time we did widescreen because we were gonna have two people. So it's like, okay, it seems like the appropriate time to make the change.
Yeah, that was your first crossover.
Yeah, I can't imagine doing a crossover not in widescreen. I think that'd be almost comedic suicide, unless you somehow work that in where you keep like going in and out of the frame or something. But yeah,
no, it's just like the poster for Face Off.
So, yeah, just half the face in there and the other kept in shadow.
Yes.
That Racer X bit that I had you do, where you realize where Racer X Rex and he got into a car wreck, that naming convention, that actually happened because I was talking with Mark about how the names always seem to relate to what they did or how they related to the story. And then I looked at Rex and I think, wait a minute, didn't he get into a car wreck? And I vocalized that thought, and Mark just did one of these like take off the glasses, like, oh my God, you just figured it out, kind of dramatic moments.
Well, it's because I've known, but it's just like just let him no, just let him figure it out.
Oh, it was so charming to like, because Mark is one cool cat most of the time, but when you say something that gets his jimmies going, it's really, really endearing.
Unlike right now, see, like you know, it's Anime Abandoned, and that I'm working in the background when a shot of Michael Knight shows up.
Like I made that Knight Rider reference. Like whenever you see something that's sort of outside my realm of immediate purview, it's mainly because I wrote it in there just to give Mark a chuckle. So like Knight Rider references, old 90s cartoons that nobody remembers, like SWAT Cats. That's all Mark.
Motherfucker. I'm sorry, I'm regaining my composure. Come on, Doug. SWAT Cats?
Me? No.
Oh, come on!
I know it's super popular.
No, it's not. It's not.
I'm thinking of Pizza Cats. No, I have no idea what SWAT Cats is.
Oh! We gotta talk.
I take it they're cats that go after flies.
It was a part of Hanna-Barbera's attempt at action cartoons. They had a phase. They had a whole phase. It was like, let's do action cartoons.
But no, they even Giant Quest. That's based on an older cartoon. Wait, is this like older Hanna-Barbera, like Flintstones and stuff, or is it
mid '90s, like when they did the Real Adventures of Johnny Quest?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it was cats.
Yes, like the entire thing was just a city, like a futuristic city of cats, and two vigilante cats who flew a jet. They flew like a Harrier jet. It was awesome.
All I'm thinking is like those cat videos where it's like, oh look, he's flying a jet. It's like a little toy jet, and like
it's not like 12 Tootses. It's not. It is not Tootses, the cat who could fly a jet. Damn it!
Oh, that'd be amazing. We need to start a cartoon action show on that.
Oh, best shot in the movie.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, that was a great shot. But I wanted to quickly interject that there was a missed joke opportunity that I wish I could go back when John Goodman was, doing the whole Nanja line. Part of me wanted to input that line from The Big Lebowski. You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass?
And looking at this without having to actually listen to it, it's like I'm already seeing how you can kind of make this visually a little bit more interesting, because there's definitely a visual palette, but they're just throwing in like 10 more things. It's like just one, it's like just zoom in on like one part and then just film that. Like take out the rest of the background, just film like the most appealing part of the frame where there's like just two colors contrasting each other and just be like, that's it.
The last act of the movie basically just completely takes a 2-day backed up crap on the second act, where it basically just says, yeah, this whole entire second act didn't need to happen at all. And that pissed me off more than anything in the movie, more than the glaringly bright colors, more than the overly kinetic cinematography in the editing. That was story. That was completely unnecessary. Like if you needed a means to get Speed Racer to the Grand Prix at the end of the movie, there are better ways than just to have this entire second act where he has this dangerous race where it's revealed that it is absolutely pointless.
Yeah, you know what drives me nuts too? Like, you see, they do a lot of the, we make fun of it with the characters sort of being cut across, going left and right, we have me doing the finger and stuff like that. But when that's done well, I love that. I love that, like in the movie Frida, they do stuff like that, and sort of artistically, very interestingly and stuff. And I sort of like this idea of almost making it look a little bit like a comic, but it's just so painful when it's not done right. I kind of think of like in Ang Lee's Hulk, he was trying to do that, and it just totally didn't work. And it's always such a shame when it doesn't work, because it's like, no, this can be really great. It's like, you can use this in films that can be really phenomenal, but you just got a couple people not using it right, and when it doesn't work, it just so blows up. That's just blowing up right now. That is so hideous.
Not the actor, just the color.
No, maybe the actor. It might
be. Speaking of Ang Lee's Hulk, I was kind of on board for that movie when I first saw it, but I was such an I was such a Hulk fan that I was sort of in denial about that movie. And then I rewatched it recently, and then I just felt utterly like I was such a dumb kid. I was in complete denial over this. Sort of a meta story coming up here. In the ending of this video got flagged for content ID, and WB had claimed it as per usual, and I counterclaimed it, and within 24 hours it was unflagged. And like, thank you, Warner Brothers. That's actually kind of a rarity these days. Thank you for knowing that I'm not intentionally trying to just pirate your movie.
For the people that we still get claimed quite a bit. They've gone down a little bit, but we still get them. And whenever we have Warner Brothers, there is like a little bit of relief, because it's like, okay, we know they're cool for the most part. They will at least try to look. They'll at least look at it. There's more a chance that they will look at it and be like, oh, okay, but we'll take this away instead. They won't just let it get lost in the emails and then just be like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, no, we want the money, whatever. I mean, they will legitimately try to be fair. That's been our experience with them anyway.
Yeah, so I do want to take that moment to like in a marketplace where it really, really favors the rights holders over, people like us who are just trying to, have an opinion on what, their property is, and the law is on our side. They, play the game fair. And I think that's important to, like with all the rage bile build up across from people like us about like 20th Century Fox, especially 20th Century Fox. It's important to say like, hey, no, Warner Brothers, you did good. You did good. Thank you.
Yeah, our experiences with them have been pretty good.
Yeah,
they're definitely one of the ones, like I said, if we see it's a claim by them, it's kind of like, okay, like we know this isn't going to be a long ordeal. It's like, usually we'll bring it up. It'll be like, okay, like this seems all right.
Mm-hmm. The ending summarization of the thoughts was sort of a like, oh God, how do I summarize my thoughts and your thoughts while coming to a certain understanding? Because it felt like we kind of have to double back on what we said, even though we meant everything we said. You know what I mean? It's like, it feels like, like you had all these points. We had all these points that we wanted to make, but we needed to find some kind of common ground. And how do we do that without saying like, oh, maybe I was a little too like hard on this particular part, and I didn't want to do that, especially when it comes to collaborative reviews. I feel that when there's a consensus at the end of the movie, that's a consensus at the end of the review rather, that makes for a more engaging review, especially since how our last review ended.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Is that I actually kind of like the reviews where the two, three, or whatever people doing it actually disagree and have different thoughts on it. I think it's at first, I can't remember which review it was when I first happened. I was like, oh man, well, how am I going to do this? I'm like, wait, this just immediately makes the review more interesting when they do disagree. So, adds a little bit more conflict, makes the comedy better. So yeah, I actually really like it when I come across a review and I disagree with the person that I'm doing it with.
Yeah, the disagreement, yes, but I think common ground is important, especially when if you want to leave the viewer watching it not feeling like like okay, so at least there was some kind of like there was some kind of climax to it instead of just conflict for conflict's sake. Oh God, Rob, pass on my gratitude to Rob the next time you have a chance. He. I mean, not on top of you having to reshoot the ending here, we also had to get Robin, and I believe he was sick the other day before we shot this, so he wasn't exactly.
I do kind of remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, like he wasn't in the best of spirits, but he soldiered on, and I am immediately grateful to not only to you but also to your brother for you bailing me out of what could be a very disastrous shot, like Man of La Mancha levels of disaster. Ugh.
Well, and you're right. When you brought that up, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like he really wasn't feeling well. I was kind of shocked he got this much energy and screaming and stuff behind it. I think it was just at the thought of tormenting me that just immediately fills him with a new energy and really brings him to life.
Speaking of torment, oh God, this was so much fun to shoot.
Here is the epicness. So we had to ask the question, like, what does Gabe do? What does the character do if the character Sage is not around? And of course, unsupervised, he goes completely fucking bonkers. So it just became like anime abandoned bits when we film bits having nothing to do with the anime necessarily. It is just this piling on process of no, more, and this is the physical representation of how anime abandoned gets written.
And this is why Gabe is, Gabe to me will always be the number one guy I go to when I need to have a bit done, a physical bit done, because he commits. He does not do anything half-assed.
Well, what makes it so great is that there's a case of Diet Dr. Pepper in the back. Watch those calories, guy.
Like it was like the whole bit just piled on like more, and then it's just like, all right, how do we get him to, like, is he just going to start eating it and just like akabaka like the critic? And it's like, no. What he does is we're gonna write Team Gabe across his chest, and then just like, okay, so how do we get him to tear his shirt? Like just cut the fucking collar, it'll be fine, it'll tear right off.
It's not that he couldn't rip his shirt off, without the terror. The man does go to the gym quite a bit. I mean, he's no Hulkster, but he could do it. But oh God, he had so much fun, and he had fun, playing around with it. He didn't like having to bite into that because even though there's ice cream and all this good stuff in it, it's not good stuff to eat all at once, nor is it very toothsome. He's just like, oh God, I bit into like a gummy worm that's been frozen. It's hard as rock. Felt like you could chip a tooth in that mess pile, that pig trough of sweet. Felt like it's like if Willy Wonka, designed a pig trough. It's just so much sugar and so much diabetes. I
like your reaction, just shaking your head, like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Like, that's why I have to supervise you. Yeah, the cleanup wasn't very fun. It took like a good 45 minutes to clean up everything from around that area because not only did we make a mess in the dining room, but he made a mess of himself. So I lined some trash bags leading from the table to my shower, so that way he had a clean path to walk on to get himself cleaned up.
Oh, and
so he got into the. If you go into my bathroom today, you could still see his hair sticking to the walls from all the sugar that was in his hair from all the ice cream. So, and I keep it there as a reminder of good times.
Yeah, I'm sure your landlord will really appreciate that in the consideration for your security deposit. What is that? What murder scene happened in here?
Oh, come on. Like, during the Violence Jack shoot, there would be way more things to, make a fuss about than anything here.
It's like you've never eaten ice cream.
You never had ice cream and gummy worms and whipped cream and Cocoa Puffs all in one bowl? You have not lived, good sir. You have not lived.
That's what
I know what I'm having for dinner tonight.
Ugh. Just live, like, I live vicariously through the stupid decisions of other people. That's my bag.
But like the trip out to Chicago didn't pan out like as I planned. As we stated before, there were supposed to be two other reviews rather, that was supposed to connect to this one review, and it was supposed to be a story about how I was trapped in Chicago and going from place to place and trying to get back to my home, and unfortunately that didn't pan out. But I love the end result regardless of how. I loved how the video ended up, and I felt that the review itself was a nice 5-year anniversary video to kind of say thank you to all the people who have been watching the show for as long as they had, and to say keep watching. So we're near the end of this video, so goodbyes, gentlemen.
Bye.
And goodbye to you, and thank you all for always watching.
Mm-hmm. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for patronizing Anime Abandoned and keeping up with all my madness. Should have another Nuts and Bolts next week, but until then, see ya.